from the fetal life itself. That is from the at the end of first trimester of fetal life. It is and at that time it is relatively insensitive to this negative feedback because of the immaturity of fetal CNS, and thus it produces sex hormones, and which is responsible for the development of external genitalia in fetus and the descent of testes. Later in gestation, it is gradually suppressed because of the high estrogen level by maternal placental fetal unit, and the secretion of gonadotropin become minimum near to birth. And after delivery, because of maternal estrogen withdrawal, the HPG axis again become functional in the newborn for the first few months. And this period is considered as mini puberty, which is responsible for the phallic growth and transient breast enlargement in the newborn. Thereafter, this gonadotropin secretion gradually decline because of the maturation of CNS. And this HPG axis dormant in pre-pubertal stage. This is evident by very low level of gonadotropin and sex steroid in this stage. This is the graphical representation of the HPG axis, functioning of HPG axis at various point of time. During the initial fetal period, it is acting at pubertal level and produce sex hormone, which gradually decreases, gradually suppressed near to birth and become minimum near to birth because of the maternal estrogen effect. And after the delivery, since maternal estrogen effect is withdrawn, this HPG axis again become functional, and after a few months, because of infants CNS maturity occurs, this HPG axis again got suppressed, and it continue till the pubertal time. And the pubertal time again, this HPG axis becoming functioning because of various stimulus, which will be explaining on coming slides. Before that, adrenarche. This adrenarche occurs before the onset of puberty. That is before.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Adrenarche. The adrenocortical androgen, that is DHEA and dihydroepiandrosterone and its sulfate, begins to increase before the LH pulses and before the earliest changes of puberty. This adrenarche is occurring first. Now, the regulation of onset and progression of puberty.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I just ask few questions,
Yes.
so that we are just dealing with the most important point in the development of sexual organs in the baby.
Yes, sir.
So the first trimester is most important period actually. Suppose that hypothalamus, suppose the androgens are not produced during the first trimester, what will happen?
This is the time of organogenesis.
Yes.
So if sex hormones are not produced at that time in the proper manner, the sex differentiation, that is development of male and female gonads, will not occur properly.
Yeah.
And
that is the time when the child develops ambiguous genitalia.
Yes.
Suppose it is a male, and if there is a inadequate stimulation of hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis, the testosterone development will be less, and he will almost, suppose testosterone development is very minimal, he will almost looks like a female. And on the contrary, in a girl child, CAH and all, this is the time where the maximum virilization occurs, and if there is a severe virilization, that girl will look like exactly like a male. So that is a very crucial period in the first trimester. And even before the hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis, the HCG will stimulate our Leydig cells to produce testosterone. That will occur even before, even in the first trimester itself, because the hypothalamus and pituitary start acting at the early period of second trimester. So that also is very important. And that another important thing is mini puberty, that you have mentioned very clearly. That is how that undescended testis, that will become descended by the end of 6 months because of the mini puberty actually. Otherwise, if the child present to you with micro penis and all, that indicates that mini puberty is not very active, was not very active at that time. Okay, continue.
Now the regulation and onset, regulation of onset and progression of puberty.
So what is adrenarche? Usually that adrenarche and gonadarche usually that occurs side by side almost the same time. But sometimes there will be some difference will be there. Adrenite occur a little bit earlier. That is called as premature puberty. And sometimes that may occur even later also. Okay.
The onset of puberty is influenced by various genetics and environmental factors, and the usual age of onset of puberty in girls is 8 to 13 years, and in boys 9 to 14 years. And this onset of puberty is marked by the pulsatile secretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone. Only the pulsatile stimulation can cause the release of gonadotropin, and continuous stimulation inhibit the release of gonadotropin. This concept is used in the treatment aspect. The gonadotropin releasing hormone pulse generator, which is located in the hypothalamus, is regulated by various stimulatory and inhibitory neuropeptides. The stimulatory neuropeptides include glutamine, neurokinin B, kisspeptin, and inhibitory neuropeptides include dopamine, GABA, dynorphin, opioids. And the hormones like leptin, ghrelin, insulin growth factor 1 are also stimulatory to hypothalamus for producing this GnRH pulse. And the mechanism of pulse generation reflects the balance between this stimulatory and inhibitory neurotransmitter. Thus, 1 to 3 years.
Can I just add one point?
Yes, sir.
Can you just can you tell me the importance of leptin in the development of puberty?
Leptin.
So I'll tell you, in obese girls, the puberty is slightly earlier actually compared to a normal girl. So that is the effect of leptin. And suppose a girl is asthenic or malnourished, the puberty will be delayed also. So usually the secular trend is now early puberty, especially in girls. That is because of the occurrence of obesity and stimulation of leptin. The hypothalamus will be stimulated by the leptin and can produce puberty a little bit earlier. Okay.
And thus 1 to 3 years before the onset of clinically evident puberty, this because of pulse generation, there is pulsatile secretion of GnRH, which occurs mostly during night in the initial period. And this result in the pulsatile secretion of gonadotropin from anterior pituitary, that is LH and FSH, which in turn stimulate the gonads and cause enlargement and maturation of gonads and secretion of sex hormones. And this gonadotropin acts on specific cells of testis and ovary, and in LH act on theca cells to produce estradiol, and LH acts on Leydig cells of the testis to produce testosterone. And this FSH act on granulosa cells of the ovary and Sertoli cells of the testis to cause gametogenesis and gonadal growth. And this pulsatile secretion of gonadotropin continues to increase in amplitude and in frequency and become evident even in daytime by mid-puberty. And the sex steroid, which are finally produced, regulate this HPG axis by negative feedback mechanism.
One question, Mujib. So what is the other hormone that is secreted by the Sertoli cells of the testes that is very important in sexual differentiation?
Inhibin.
AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone, that is secreted from the Sertoli cells, and even inhibin B is secreted from Sertoli cells. Anti-Mullerian hormone produce regression of the Mullerian duct. Suppose the Sertoli cells are not producing, the baby will be having persistence of the Mullerian duct actually. So these AMH and inhibin B level are used for evaluation of the testicular status actually. Nowadays, AMH level. Okay, continue.
This is what we told earlier. That is, the hypothalamic pulse generator is stimulated with glutamate, neurokinin B, kisspeptin, leptin, ghrelin, insulin, and IGF-1, and it is inhibited by dopamine, GABA, and dynorphin. And the balance between will decide the pulse generation. And because of pulse generation, GnRH is released from the hypothalamus, act on pituitary, pulsatile secretion of LH and FSH, which act on gonads to produce sex hormones.
Just a question to I think okay. This is just a doubt about this, Vijay Kumar. Is the kisspeptin just one of the things like glutamine and neurokinin, or
yes.
things affect it, or that the kisspeptin acts on the receptor and produces the further.
Yes. So few years back, kisspeptin was the only substance that will stimulate the hypothalamus. Now, kisspeptin, along with the other stimulatory substances like glutamate, neurokinin, leptin, ghrelin, everything act together actually. But kisspeptin, as on today, kisspeptin is having the maximum role. All these together will stimulate kisspeptin to produce the hypothalamus to stimulate. That theory is still evolving.
Yeah. So the receptor is supposed to be GPR54. Now, can only the kisspeptin stimulate GPR54, or all the others can stimulate?
All the others can affect the stimulation of kisspeptin. Through the kisspeptin, they are stimulating the 54. That is as on today, because a lot of changes are there.
Yeah. Okay, carry on.
The hormonal changes during puberty. The sex hormone LH, FSH, which were undetectable during prepubertal period, now will appear in the blood during puberty. And at the beginning of puberty, FSH rise first. Later, LH rise and much higher in proportion. This FHS has longer half-life than LH. Hence, the LH reflect that pulsatile pattern in the blood. And the physical changes of puberty. Sex hormones are responsible for the physical changes of puberty. Estrogen stimulates the growth of uterus, breast, endometrium, and cervical mucus production. And in male, testosterone leads to male sexual development of male sexual characteristics. And both these hormones are responsible for growth spurt and epiphyseal growth maturation, in which estrogen has more role in epiphyseal growth maturation.
So as you said rightly, estrogen is having the maximum importance on the epiphyseal maturation. Even the testosterone is being converted to estrogen and acting through estrogen. That is the recent theory. Estrogen is the most important thing for the epiphyseal fusion and all these things.
In girls, thelarchy, that is the appearance of breast bud, is the first sign of puberty, which occurs at an average age of 10.2 years. And pubarchy comes 6 months later. And after that, menarche occurs 2 to 2.5 years after thelarchy. And if this duration between thelarchy and menarche is less than 1 year, it is called as discordant precocious puberty, and which is seen in hypothyroidism and McCune-Albright syndrome. In boys,
what will happen in hypothyroidism? Which one become earlier, pubarchy or menarche?
Menarche.
Yes, sometimes menarche can occur even without any pubic hair. Without pubarchy, you can get menarche. That is the importance of. Then you can diagnose the precocious puberty is probably due to hypothyroidism. Actually, there won't be any pubarchy at all sometimes.
In boys, first sign is growth of testis and thinning of scrotum. Growth of testis means testicular volume 4 ml or more, or 2.5 centimeter in longest diameter, which occurs in average age of 11.3 years. And pigmentation of scrotum, growth of penis, and pubarchy, spermachy follows next. And this is just for refreshment. Before 8 year in girls, if puberty occurs, it is precocious puberty in girls, and before 9 years, if puberty occurs, precocious puberty in boys, and 10 year first sign of puberty in girls, thelarchy, and 11 year first sign of puberty in boys, 12 year usual age of menarche, 13 year delayed puberty in girls. If puberty occur later than 13 year, delayed puberty in girls, and if it occur later than 14 year, delayed puberty in boys.
So in different places, these are considered as different ages, I think. Jomar, your comment on that? Because
yes, sir.
Indian standards and Western standards, they are different. Maybe the
different geographical areas.
Yes,
leptin,
maybe the leptin, nutrition, all those things are affecting it.
Yes, that is what I was discussing earlier. Even different areas, different geographical areas in the world, there is some advancement in the puberty, especially girls, not in boys. Especially in girls, there is some advancement, especially that they're much more in American African girls. That is because now they are telling that is because of the effect of leptin actually. So if they are obese, because of there is epidemic of obesity, the puberty is slightly early. The leptin will stimulate hypothalamus and produce the pubertal changes. It will be earlier. That is the same cause. Whenever child is malnourished, or if a person is having severe illness, chronic illness, and all, if he is abstaining or she is abstaining, the puberty will be delayed. Anorexia nervosa, athletes, and ballet dancers, and all, puberty will be delayed. That is also having a direct relationship between leptin level. There is a secular trend, especially in girls, not in boys.
And Vijaykumar, there's also a hereditary pattern in.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And
So that is
should we start investigating girls at 13 years or 13.5 years? Is there any of any?
for delayed puberty.
Yeah.
Delayed puberty, I think, as Dr. Narayan said, there is even for precocious puberty and delayed puberty, there is a definite familial pattern. There is a genetic influence is there, especially in girls also. Because if the mother is having delayed puberty, delayed menarche, a child also will be having delayed. That is called as constitutional delay in growth and puberty. That is a well-defined phenomenon. And investigation, if there is no thelarchy after 13 years, then you can investigate. Till 13 years, for thelarchy, you can wait. That is the thing. So after 13 years, you have to investigate.
Thank you.
Once puberty has begun, then the sequential changes are described by sexual maturity rating by Tanner, and 5 stages for genital, breast, and pubic changes. And in male, the genital stage 1 implies prepubertal, and in stage 2, there is enlargement of testicular volume more than 4, and in puberty also occurs in genital stage 2. And stage 3, further enlargement of testis and scrotum occurs along with the lengthening of the penis. And in stage 4, along with this lengthening of the penis, breadth also increases, and further development of scrotum and testis. And stage 5 is the pubertal pattern. And in female, stage 1, breast stage 1 indicates prepubertal level, and breast stage 2 indicates thelarchy, occurrence of breast bud, and puberty also appears in breast stage 2. And in stage 3, a definite breast mount develop, and in stage 4, the areola will project, and in stage 5, adult pattern. And the thelarchy occur in breast stage 2, puberty occur in stage 2 in both sexes, and peak height velocity occurs in girls at breast stage 2 to 3, that is median age of 11 to 12 years, and in boys genital stage 4 to 5, median age of 13 to 14 years, and menarche occurs at the breast stage 4.
One more thing, don't write, suppose if you are in the examination, don't write SMR3, SMR4 like that, because breast stage and pubic hair stage may be different actually. Sometimes, suppose child is having premature puberty, pubic hair will be 3 or 4 like that, breast may not develop at that time. So pubic hair, puberty P3, B2 like that you have to write. Even in male, suppose child is having a premature puberty, the gonads won't enlarge, but pubic hair will increase little bit earlier. The reverse also will happen, as we discussed about hypothyroidism. The testicular volume will begin earlier actually. Increase in the testicular size will begin earlier, but there won't be any puberty at all. Puberty will be a late phenomenon. So if you write like female gonad, female breast 2, 3 like that, and pubic hair 2, 3 like that, separately you have to write. So otherwise you will be landing in trouble actually. So usually it will be in a usual pattern, but some cases pattern may be different. So don't write SMR3, SMR4 like that. Breast and pubic hair in girls separately, genital and pubic hair in male separately you have to write.
This is in nutshell what we told till now. That is a pulsatile generation from the hypothalamus, which cause gonadotropin releasing hormone, gonadotropins, and sex hormone, which finally inhibit. And the patterns already we described.
Yes, Dr. Kumar, any comments on this? Now we are going to the precocious puberty.
Yeah, before that, any discussion, any comments?
Yes, yeah. Any doubts on this or discussion? We got an expert here right now with us, Dr. Vijay Kumar.
Sir, delayed menarche, at what age we can say delayed menarche? Is it 18 years?
Delayed menarche. So the usual time of menarche is roughly 12 to 13 years, and 15 years. Usually 15 years is called as delayed menarche. 2 years after that telarche, 13, 15 years. You can believe if the menarche is after 15 years, you can call it as a delayed menarche, and the precocious, if the menarche at around 9.5 or 10 years, we can call it as precocious menarche also. But 15 years is a very late phenomenon actually. Even before that, we have to intervene. That is the problem. That is why 13 years is taken as a cutoff. Suppose a child develop breast, but she won't develop menarche. That is the usual thing. Sometimes in an example, I'll tell androgen insensitivity syndrome. That is an ambiguous genitalia. Breast development will be there. There will be normal breast development, but menarche will be delayed. So that child, that is not a female, actually male, they will come to you with primary amenorrhea. So the ideal time for menarche alone is 15 years.
One comment. Hello?
Yes, please. Yes, we can hear you.
See, we mentioned the normal variation in the attainment of menarche and related things. But of late, an observation being made, the age of attainment of menarche has been receding. That means they attain menarche at an earlier stage, isn't it? This is because the babies who are malnourished, undernourished, earlier age, when the acceleration of growth and maturation, the attainment is more earlier. So what is your comment on this, Vijay?
Yes, that is definite, sir. Sir, usually, that is why we were discussing that, the effect of leptin and all. Previously, most of the girls are malnourished. That is why there is some delay in menarche. Now, majority of the girls are well nourished and even overnourished. That may cause that trend is little bit earlier actually, especially in Western countries. Definitely. But in male, that market change is not there actually, especially in girls.
Some people can have an earlier telarche, but the menarche may occur at the same time.
That also is a possible thing. Yeah. Suppose they will come to you with early telarche and everybody will get upset. That is because preferential elevation of FSH compared to LH. Or whenever you deal with, you investigate a child with premature telarche, the investigation report, they will show LH is normal, prepubertal, FSH will be little bit elevated. That is having some influence on breast development. But if the LH production is not increasing much, the menarche will be occurring in a normal age. So whenever child is having only telarche and even the growth velocity is not markedly advanced, you can wait. Menarche may occur in the normal time. Even the growth acceleration also will take later. That is a well-known phenomenon. Menarche, telarche occur very early, menarche occur on the same day, same time. That is also there.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go along with the precocious puberty.
One second, Vijay Kumar, would you please explain the pubertal changes in pseudocystic ovarian syndrome? Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
PCOD, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Usually, what happens is that girl with a PCOD will be little bit obese with acanthosis and all features of obesity, and they will be having hyperandrogenization. You can see that they will be having facial hair and excessive acne and all. And the puberty is usually irregular actually. They may start puberty in the normal age, but there will be anovulatory cycle will prolong. Usually even in a normal girl, there will be initial few years, there will be anovulatory cycle. Here anovulatory cycle will be much more prolonged and the ovarian follicles will be there. But nowadays in adolescence, presence of ovarian follicle is not included in the criteria, unlike in adult. But usually that is a common thing with a menstrual irregularities. They will come with menstrual irregularities usually.
Yes, Mujib, continue.
Now going to the topic precocious puberty. Precocious puberty is defined as the onset of secondary sexual characteristic before 8 years of age in girls and 9 years of age in boys. And the general classification of precocious puberty: central precocious puberty, peripheral precocious puberty, and there are incomplete variants also. And peripheral precocious puberty, again, it may be isosexual or heterosexual. Central precocious puberty will be isosexual, which I will be explaining in coming slide.
So the most important thing for diagnosing is whether the child is having central or peripheral. That is the most important turning point.
Central precocious difference between comparison between central precocious puberty and peripheral precocious puberty. Central precocious puberty, it is due to the activation of normal hypothalamic pituitary gonadal activation, but at an earlier age and in a faster pace. So it is called gonadotropin dependent precocious puberty, and it is always isosexual and complete, and it is called true precocious puberty. And the hormones LH, FSH are will be in pubertal level. And when coming to peripheral precocious puberty, there is no hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis stimulation, but here the precocious puberty occurs due to peripheral autonomous androgen and estrogen sex hormone production, and hence it is called gonadotropin independent precocious puberty, and otherwise called precocious pseudopuberty. It may be iso or heterosexual, and the hormonal levels will be here. FSH and LH will be in the prepubertal range. Isosexual means the male, the same phenotypic, and heterosexual means phenotype of the opposite sex. That is, a male in a male secondary sexual characteristic of a female, and in female there is secondary sexual characteristic of male. It is called heterosexual. And the causes of central precocious puberty. In 90% of girls, the most common cause is idiopathic, and the other causes are CNS infection, CNS injuries, CNS tumors, CNS malformation, and genetic. CNS infection like meningitis, encephalitis, neurotuberculosis, brain abscess, and CNS injuries like head trauma, neurosurgery procedure, cranial irradiation, perinatal asphyxia, and CNS tumors like optic glioma, craniopharyngioma, pituitary adenoma, astrocytoma, and malformation. Hamartoma is the most common cause of organic brain lesion, and other causes arachnoid, hydrocephalus, septoptic dysplasia, and genetic causes mutation in kisspeptin receptor gene and mutation in Macroin ringfinger 3 gene. This Macroin ringfinger 3 gene act as a brake to the HPG axis. So if there is any mutation, that is loss of function mutation of Macroin 3 gene, this HPG axis will be stimulated and cause precocious, central precocious puberty, and mutation in kisspeptin gene, gain in function of mutation, which also cause continuous stimulation of this HPG axis.
One thing is, so you can just go to that. This gain of function of Macroin ringfinger 3 that can produce delayed puberty. That is one of the common cause of nowadays. They are telling one common organic cause is the gain of function mutation of Macroin ringfinger 3. So one question: in which group of children, male or female, the cause of central puberty is organic cause is much more common?
In female, it is 90% idiopathic, and in male, up to 75%, there may be an organic lesion.
So, if you are dealing with a male with central precocious puberty, you have to find out a cause. At least 75% or more than that, you will get a cause. But if it is a girl, if the older the girl, less common is the chance of organic disease. Suppose a girl is less than 6 years, 3 or 4 years, coming with central precocious puberty, they will be having an organic cause. But as the age advances, just that is as CK sir was discussing, that puberty has now the age of puberty is slightly less. That is, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old girl comes to you with precocious puberty, they may not be having any organic cause. Sometimes that may be that physiological clock is slightly moving towards lesser age group. That is the only thing. But if it is a boy, most commonly there will be some finding that it may not be idiopathic at all usually. That is the difference between, and there is some doubt whether there is some consensus, there is some differences in opinion whether we should take an MRI and all these things in a obese older girl coming with precocious puberty. But younger girls, there will be an organic cause.
And as sir told, more frequently, central precocious puberty more seen in girls, and 90% of sexual precocity in girls are idiopathic, and up to 75% of boys it is associated with a central lesion, and most common of such lesion is hamartoma.
And that is very common in all over the world. I think I have given that one article. Even Calicut also, the hypothalamic hamartoma was the commonest cause of organic cause of precocious puberty.
Now coming to peripheral precocious puberty. This is due to peripheral production of estrogen and androgen. And the peripheral source may be testis, ovary, or adrenal, or exogenous. And in a female, if there is estrogen excess, it produces isosexual precocious puberty. And in a female, if there is androgen excess, it causes heterosexual precocious puberty. And in a male, if it is androgen excess, isosexual. And in a male, if there is estrogen excess, it causes male heterosexual precocious puberty. Now coming to the causes of each one. Female isosexual, that is feminizing condition, that is excess estrogen in the female. The source may be ovarian, adrenal, or exogenous. Ovarian source like McCune-Albright syndrome, ovarian cyst, ovarian tumor, and adrenal source like feminizing adrenal tumor and exogenous estrogen. Other causes like hypothyroidism, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. And the male isosexual causes, conditions, and that is in male androgen excess. So the sources may be testicular sources of androgen, Leydig cell tumor, or familial male precocious puberty, otherwise called testotoxicosis.
Limited precocious puberty. That is FM limited, FMLP, or other name
Testotoxicosis.
testotoxicosis. So that is a autosomal dominant condition. You may get in siblings, you may get in the father. Father may be having precocious puberty. That is a very rare condition, familial male limited precocious puberty.
An adrenal source of androgen in male, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and androgen secreting adrenal tumor. And other cause exogenous androgen, HCG secreting tumors, and hypothyroidism can cause in both sexes. And female heterosexual, that is androgen excess in female, virilizing condition, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, androgen
in girls, that is the common cause. That is, but unfortunately, that is a virilizing congenital adrenal hyperplasia that is not detected in the newborn period. They will develop all features of male characters. Okay.
And in male heterosexual, that is estrogen excess in male, exogenous estrogen, feminizing adrenocortical tumor, and Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. Now coming to incomplete variety, that is premature thelarchy, premature adenarchy, and premature menarchy. And treated congenital adrenal hyperplasia, McCune-Albright syndrome, familial male precocious puberty, that is testotoxicosis. Initially, this will be presenting as peripheral precocious puberty, but later it can also show features of central precocious puberty.
That is not treated. That is untreated.
Yes.
Untreated or partially treated. Because suppose adrenal hyperplasia is there, and if you are not treating properly, if the dose of hydrocortisone is not sufficient, or if we have failed to pick up it, finally they will stimulate the hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis, and we can see that suddenly there is testicular enlargement, and they will come with all features of central precocious puberty. That is a combined. So peripheral becoming a central precocious puberty. That is very common in CAH. That is not treated properly. Very commonly seen. Even McCune-Albright syndrome not detected earlier, that can be seen.
Sorry, this is not treated, untreated as sir told. And the three pattern of pubertal progression, there may be rapid progression, slowly progressive, regressive. This rapid progression is most common, rapid physical and osseous maturation leading to the loss of height potential. So this should be careful while dealing with rapid progression. It should be treated properly. Slowly progressive, preserve the.
Either the child is having rapid progression of secondary sexual characters without any increment in height. You may be dealing with an adrenal tumor or something like that, a testicular tumor, because that is very rapidly producing, and the height potential is not there. Even there is not time to get that. Suppose it is a very slow height potential, height increment is very gradual, then you have to think of a benign condition. Very common adrenal tumors, even a CNS tumors can produce a rapid progression.
About growth hormone deficiency and hypothyroidism? They can also have the same thing, isn't it?
Hypothyroidism usually will produce a delayed puberty. Rarely that can produce precocious puberty.
Precocious puberty, central.
Central precocious, but the usual clinical picture is there won't be a increase in the height velocity. There will be a decrease in height velocity because just like hypothyroidism, height progression may be very less, weight may be increased, height may not increase. And another thing is bone age will be delayed. In all other conditions, bone age will be advanced. In hypothyroidism, bone age will be delayed. Suppose we are dealing with a precocious puberty with delayed bone age and reduced height potential, reduced growth velocity, you may be dealing with a case of hypothyroidism, untreated again.
So also the growth hormone deficiency, you can have it in associated conditions.
Yes, growth hormone. So I'll give one example: craniopharyngioma. Craniopharyngioma is a condition that can produce precocious puberty, but due to craniopharyngioma, there may be a growth hormone suppression also. So you can get conditions like that.
Precocious puberty resulting from organic brain lesion. We told that most common is hypothalamic hamartoma, and this lesion may also associated with gelastic or psychomotor seizure. On MRI, it appears as a small pedungulated mass attached to the floor of third ventricle, or as a sessile mass that remains static for years. And a wide variety of CNS lesions, usually involving the hypothalamus by scarring, invasion, or pressure, have been associated with the central precocious puberty. These include tubercular meningitis, tuberous sclerosis, heteroma, heterocephalus, and various neoplasms. And there may be hypothalamic signs or symptoms such as diabetes insipidus, hyperthermia, unnatural crying or laughing, raised ICT features, visual signs and symptoms if there is central organic lesions.
So another thing is always vision and visual fields are very important for investigation. So if there is visual field defect and all, you can think of CNS tumors or all these things.
Now, precocious puberty following irradiation of the brain. Radiation therapy the range of 18 to 50 gray for leukemia or intracranial tumors increase the risk of precocious puberty considerably. And syndrome of precocious puberty and hypothyroidism, as sir told, very rarely, usually this hypothyroidism cause delayed puberty, and very rarely it cause precocious puberty. And there will be growth retardation and delayed bone age in hypothyroidism. In all other conditions, growth instead of retardation, growth acceleration will be there. And in USC of girls with hypothyroidism, there may be large cystic ovarian cyst which produce large amount of estrogen, which cause these changes of precocious puberty. And the TSH level may be highly elevated, and treatment of the hypothyroidism result in the rapid return to the normal.
I have seen one girl with hypothyroidism done surgery for the ovarian cyst and came with precautions. Child had huge ovarian cyst and surgery was done. Then they diagnosed hypothyroidism and started treatment. Then they diagnosed, because that is a common mistake. So whenever we do a precocious puberty workup, we will do an ultrasound. But sometimes we will fail to do thyroid function test also. An ultrasound shows cyst that will get removed actually. So here, by giving hypothyroidism, thyroid hormone replacement itself, that all that ovarian follicles, all these things will disappear.
Gonadotropin secreting tumors like hepatoblastoma, teratoma, and tumors in the mediastinum gonads or even adrenal glands. And in this case, HCG will be markedly elevated. And if there is hepatoblastoma, alpha fetoprotein also elevated. Coming to McCune-Albright syndrome, it is a condition with precocious puberty with bony changes, polyostotic fibrous dysplasia, and abnormal pigmentation like Caffarelli spots, and extragonadal features like hyperthyroidism and Cushing syndrome. The syndrome is caused by the activation mutation of genus 1 gene, which activate ACTH, TSH, FSH, LH receptor, and which cause the clinical manifestation. And the precocious puberty occur predominantly in girls, but less commonly in males also. And there will be large.
As such, McCune-Albright syndrome is very rare in boys. And one important thing is hyperthyroidism. That will produce hyperfunctioning usually. Hyperthyroidism, Cushing syndrome, all these things. Very rare condition causing hyperthyroidism as such is rare in children.
And you need not have all the three features.
No. no, not at all. Any of the endocrine problem.
Yes.
With this fibrous dysplasia and pigmentation, cephalospore, that is enough.
Familial male precocious gonadotropin independent precocious puberty, otherwise called testotoxicosis. This is an autosomal dominant form of central precocious puberty, and it is due to mutation in LHCG receptor and resultant Leydig cell stimulation, which cause large amount of testosterone secretion, and this will cause the features of precocious puberty.
That is not central precocious puberty, that is a peripheral precocious puberty. So there is no activation of a hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis. Here this HCG receptor mutation, they will directly stimulate Leydig cells to produce testosterone. And here, this is one rare condition in which in a peripheral precocious puberty, testicular volume is enlarged. Usually, peripheral precocious puberty, testicular volume won't be enlarged except in this condition. There will be enlargement of both testes. Not a massive enlargement, mild enlargement will be there. And they will produce precocious puberty less than 5 years. Very young children, they will produce macroorchidism and come to you. Very autosomal dominant, parents also will, father also will give the history. I have seen only one case. Both siblings having this testosterone.
There are various names for this condition, like familial male limited, familial male gonadotropin independent, testosterone.
Yes. That is very simple, sir. Because the previous definition was testosterone.
Yes.
Now that is a familial. That is a familial autosomal dominant male limited. That won't happen in girls. Familial male limited precocious. That is a recent terminology.
Yeah, accepted one now.
Accepted now. As on now is familial male limited. Gonadotropin independent is a common name for peripheral precocious.
Yeah.
About few words about premature thelarchy. As sir explained earlier, it is a transient condition of isolated breast development. Most often appears in the first 2 years of life, and in some breast development is present at birth and it persists. And in some case, it may regress by 2 years, and in some case, it often persists up to 3 to 5 years, and rarely progressive. Menarche occurs at expected age, and reproduction is normal. And here the basal FSH and FSH response to GnRH stimulation may be slightly greater than as seen in normal controls. LH levels are prepubertal. Ultrasound examination also prepubertal changes.
That is what I just told a little bit earlier. FSH will stimulate breast development, that it won't progress much. So this is one condition in which breast development will be there, but puberty will be normal. But always 10% of our so-called premature thelarchy can develop precocious puberty. So even though treatment is not needed, follow-up is very important. Sometimes they will develop, very rarely. So here FSH will be just elevated, but LH will be prepubertal, less than 0.3 international unit. FSH will be 2 or 3 international unit usually.
It's a benign condition, but it may be first sign of precocious puberty. So follow-up should be done at least for 2 years. Premature pubarchy or adenarchy, that is appearance of sexual hair before the age of 8 years in girls and 9 years in boys without other evidence of maturation. It is more frequent in girls, and it is a slowly progressive condition, requires no therapy. But if there is clitoral or phallic enlargement or cystic acne or advanced bone age, we should rule out congenital adrenal hyperplasia by doing ACTH stimulation test.
Here, actually, I'll tell one thing. This is also not a rare disease, but how to differentiate it? There will be only pubic hair involvement and height. The usual measurement of the height and growth chart is very important. Here, there won't be any advance in the bone, advance in the height actually, and growth velocity will be normal. And second is clitoral enlargement. Always definitely look for clitoris. If the clitoris is enlarged, it is not a premature puberty. That may be a congenital adrenal hyperplasia, a late presentation, or that is called as non-classical case of congenital adrenal hyperplasia, or even maybe if it is a very marked rise, if pubic hair is very fastly improving, fastly progressing, and clitoral enlargement is there, it may even be an adrenal tumor usually. So there, clitoral enlargement is very important.
Now about premature menarche, in girls with isolated vaginal bleeding in the absence of other secondary sexual characteristics. It is termed as premature menarche. But the more common causes are vulvovaginitis, foreign body, or sexual abuse. That is local cause. And we should be ruling out all these local causes before going further. Now, approach to a child with precocious puberty. We should be taking a detailed history, the age of onset, that is early ages indicate hamartoma, McCune-Albright syndrome, testotoxicosis, and the progression of puberty.
McCune-Albright syndrome can produce menarche in the infancy actually. I have seen a 1.5-year-old girl with a menarche and having McCune-Albright. Even hypothalamic hamartoma you can get in 3 or 4 years.
Progression, we should ask about the progression of puberty. Rapidly progressive puberty should be dealt with more careful. And the pattern of involvement, chronology, that is discordant. Discordant can be seen in discordant precocious puberty can be seen in hypothyroidism and McCune-Albright syndrome. And features of virilization, feminization, and seizure, behavioral abnormality may indicate hamartoma. Headache, vomiting, visual disturbance, proptosis may indicate a CNS lesion. Previous history.
As a rule, in a central precocious puberty, that order, thelarche, menarche, thelarche, pubarche, menarche, all these things will be in a normal pattern. If there is a discordant pattern, that will be usually peripheral or gonadotropin independent precocious puberty. Dependent precocious puberty, that chronology will be maintained actually.
Previous history like trauma, infection, irradiation, which may cause central precocious puberty, and sexual abuse in a girl with isolated vaginal bleeding, perinatal events, family history of early puberty, consanguinity, more important in idiopathic and testotoxicosis. And also ask exposure to exogenous sex steroids, which may cause peripheral precocious puberty. And on physical examination, height, weight, BMI should be charted in appropriate growth chart. And height velocity should also be looked, and hypertension should be ruled out. Hypertension should be looked for to ruling out congenital adrenal hyperplasia. A thorough neurological examination and abdominal examination for hepatomegaly, other masses like adrenal or ovarian masses, and visual field examination, fundus examination to rule out any CNS glioma, and skin, particularly looked for any café spots, neurocutaneous markers, acne, hirsutism, and any other pigmentation. And bony deformities in McCune-Albright syndrome, and look for signs of hypothyroidism also, and genital examination. Genital examination is very important, and particularly in male, and look for testicular asymmetry. If there is any asymmetry in the testicular volume in both sides, much enlargement of unilateral enlargement, should be ruling out testicular neoplasm. And finally, a pubertal staging with Tanner sexual maturity rating should be 10.
So, in short, if the testis is normal, testis is almost corresponding with chronological age, that is a peripheral precocious puberty. If testis is enlarged, that is a central precocious puberty. If testis, both testis are in different size, that may be a tumor usually. But in familial male limited precocious puberty, you can get some amount of testicular enlargement also. That is not 100% sure.
Coming to investigation, investigation for confirming the diagnosis and identifying the etiology. For confirming the diagnosis, hormonal study, sex hormones, and sex hormones level in the prepubertal level usually rule out the central precocious puberty. That is serum estradiol and testosterone in the prepubertal level usually rules out the central precocious puberty. And basal LH level, it is the best screening test to assess precocious puberty. And this LH is measured in the serial blood sample because of that pulsatile pattern of secretion. And initially, the samples should be obtained during the sleep because it is more produced in the sleep. And this will distinguish between central and peripheral precocity. That is, LH will be in the pubertal level. If the level less than 0.1 international unit is considered as prepubertal, and more than 0.6 international unit is considered as pubertal level. If it is prepubertal level, it rules out central precocious puberty. In central precocious puberty, there will be basal LH level will be increased to the pubertal level. And we should be confirming this with the GnRH stimulation test. And GnRH
Dr.
stimulation
Vijaykumar,
test.
just a doubt here, because you're doing a serial LH, serial GnRH test.
That is not done,
That-
sir.
Yeah, so
Usually what we are doing is at single level, but
yes.
initially, so the beginning of the puberty, there will be a nocturnal spike will be there,
Spike will
but
be there.
after some time that will disappear. So by the time we are seeing the child, that nocturnal spike, everything might be over actually. So we can do a morning LH is enough.
Okay, because it's going to be expensive also. And
Yes, that we are not at all. Nowhere it is doing.
okay,
So we are doing a single morning LH value, LH
Okay.
and FSH.
And this basal LH level increment should be confirmed with the GnRH stimulation test. That is intravenous administration of gonadotropin releasing hormone, or GnRH agonist like leuprolide as sub-Q. And if there is an LH peak more than 5 international unit per liter with predominance of LH over the FSH, it indicates central precocious puberty.
That is a very sensitive. If it is what we are now using is leuprolide. Leuprolide we can give 500 microgram. That per kilogram body weight there is also a classification. So you will give, and before that you will take a basal LH and FSH. Then after 60 minutes, after 1 hour, we will repeat it. So if the LH is above 5, that is almost suggestive of a central precocious puberty. And the other thing is also very important. LH-FSH ratio. In precocious puberty, LH rise will be much more compared to FSH rise. If LH-FSH ratio is 2:1 or more, that is in favor of central precocious puberty. In premature thelarchy, FSH will elevate. LH-FSH ratio will be less than, that is 1:2 or like that. FSH elevation will be much more. If in a doubtful cases, even for differentiating a premature thelarchy from a precocious puberty, this LH-FSH ratio can be helpful usually.
The LH, basal LH and LH response to GnRH stimulation test may be low in some girls, particularly in the initial breast stage 2 and 3, and the peak may be less than 5 international unit per liter. And in such girls, if the estradiol more than 50 picogram per ml after 20 to 24 hours of leuprolide stimulation test indicate this central precocious puberty. Other tests are used DHEA.
These are for peripheral precocious puberty. Suppose child is not having a hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal activation, you have to find out a cause from outside, either adrenal or like that. That is why these tests are important.
Other tests, 17-hydroxyprogesterone to ruling out congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and thyroid function test, alpha fetoprotein in case of hepatoblastoma, and HCG.
So what we used to do is first we will do 17-hydroxyprogesterone, because even with all these screening programs, some CAS we will be missing. That may be the first thing. Then DHEA, DHEAS, mild elevation will be seen in premature puberty, but marked elevation will be seen in adrenal tumors actually.
Bone age also should be calculated, and it will be more than 2 to 3 standard deviation. And pelvic
more than 2-year difference should be there, roughly.
Pelvic ultrasonography to look for uterus and ovary or any other masses. And MRI brain to rule out any CNS lesion. And the most common such lesion, hamartoma, which will appear as pedungulated or sessile mass attached to the posterior hypothalamus between tuber cinererum and mammillary tube.
Pelvic ultrasound is also very important to differentiate between our premature thelarchy and precocious puberty. Premature thelarchy uterus will be just like in pre-pubertal uterus, that is a tubular uterus, like that. So if the uterus, the shape changes, pear-shaped uterus, then you have to suspect that he is having some effect of puberty. She is going for puberty, and the size, more than 3.5 centimeter. If it is much more than that, your endometrial thickening is increasing, then that child is going for puberty. So if the endometrium is 6 millimeter or more, that child may develop menarche at any time.
Now, in a boy with suspected precocious puberty, assess the extent of testicular size and baseline LH, FSH. And baseline LH, FSH are in pubertal level. If it is in pubertal level, confirm with GnRH stimulation test also. If that also in the pubertal level, it is confirmed as gonadotropin dependent puberty, precocious puberty. And if the LH and LH response to GnRH stimulation test are in the pre-pubertal level, then central precocious puberty is ruled out, and look for peripheral causes and do a adrenal imaging. And if the adrenal imaging, if there is any mass lesion, rule out adrenal tumor. And if the adrenal imaging is normal, rule out congenital adrenal hyperplasia by doing ACTH stimulation test. In that case, 17-hydroxyprogesterone will be elevated. And 17-hydroxyprogesterone also in the normal level, then look for HCG level. If it is high, there may be HCG secreting tumor. So look for any such focus. The tumor may be inside the CNS or outside the CNS, like chest or abdomen. So take imaging study of those areas. And if the HCG level are normal, then do an LH receptor study. And in a girl with precocious puberty, assess the extent of pubertal development. If there is isolated menarche, do a proper local examination and history. And then if there is no local causes, do pelvic ultrasound. And if there is isolated pubarche, check for adrenal androgen. And if there is thelarche, that is breast enlargement, or the changes are complete, then do a bone age. If the bone age is retarded, then the only one condition, it is hypothyroidism, rule out hypothyroidism. And if the bone age is normal, it may be a slowly progressive variant of precocious puberty. If the bone age is advanced, then do hormonal study like basal LH and FSH level and gonadotropin releasing GnRH stimulation test. And if it shows pubertal response, it indicates gonadotropin dependent precocious puberty. If it shows prepubertal response, rule out peripheral causes, do an ultrasound of adrenal, ovary, and bone scan for fibrous dysplasia to rule out McCune-Albright syndrome. Now, coming to the treatment, GnRH for central precocious puberty, GnRH agonists are the only effective management, only effective therapy. And this GnRH agonist, we told that pulsatile secretion will stimulate the gonadotropin. Continuous stimulation will inhibit by desensitization of gonadotropic cells. This concept is used in the here. We are supplying continuously GnRH agonist, so that HPG axis is halted, and further sex hormone production is halted. And the common GnRH agonists used are leuprolide acetate, monthly injection IM, and long-acting depot leuprolide, 3 monthly IM, triptorelin, 6 monthly IM, and histrelin 50 milligram implant sub-Q with a 12-month effect. And if there is hypothalamic hamartoma which are associated with intractable gelastic or psychomotor seizure, then stereotactic radiation therapy is also advised.
So usually, what you said, the treatment is agonist. That continuous stimulation will produce suppression actually. But initially, for few days, if you just give leuprolide, there will be excess stimulation and the child even develop menarche. So always we have to tell them that initial for few days, child may develop some menarche and finally that will disappear. Otherwise, I have seen few children came back after 1 or 2 weeks with menstrual bleeding and they were very much upset. So initially there will be some amount of stimulation. So always that is one complication. But finally there won't be any menarche and they can progress.
Now, drugs used in peripheral precocious puberty, antifungal drugs like ketoconazole, which inhibit the steroid biosynthesis and hence sex hormone synthesis, anti-androgen, spironolactone, selective estrogen receptor modulators, tamoxifen, anti-estrogen, fulvestrant, and aromatase inhibitors, which inhibit the peripheral conversion of androgen to estrogen, and which are anastrozole and letrozole.
What we are using is in a combination of aromatase inhibitor, anastrozole, letrozole with anti-androgen, spironolactone in male usually. But the results compared to gonadotropin in dependent precocious puberty is very less actually, because especially in McCune-Albright syndrome and all these things, the outcome is not that good.
And the treatment resulted the decrease of growth rate of osseous maturation, and in girls, size of the breast pubic hair remains unchanged or may increase slightly, but the amount of glandular tissue decreases. Menses, if present, it stops, and pelvic ultrasonography demonstrates the decrease of size in ovarian and uterine size. And in boys, there will be decrease in testicular size, regression of pubic hair, decrease in the frequency of erection, and sex hormone concentration decreases to the prepubertal level. And serum LH, sex hormone levels remain suppressed for as long as the therapy is continued, and the puberty resumes promptly when therapy is discontinued. In girls, menarche and ovulatory cycle generally appears at an average age of 18 months, that is 6 to 24 months of cessation of therapy. This finishes the talk.
Okay. So usually what we have around 10 to 11 to 12 years, that depends, we will stop at least within 1.5 to 2 years, there will be all these normal menstrual, normal pubertal changes will happen, and menstruation will occur at the correct time. At least 1.5 to 2 years it will take. That is in general. Peripheral precocious puberty depends upon the cause actually. Suppose if it is hypothyroidism, treat with thyroid. If it is adrenal hyperplasia, treat with hydrocortisone, fludrocortisone. Just like that. So some cases by McCune-Albright and suppose there is an adrenal tumor, we have to remove that tumor. There is no medical management. In some condition like familial male-limited precocious puberty, McCune-Albright, we will give a combination of anti-androgens and aromatase inhibitors in some cases.
Thanks to all. Thanks to Dr. Shaji sir and all faculties and team IAP Calicut and all my great teachers in pediatrics, and to my friends for giving me this opportunity. Thanks.
So any questions from the audience or from Zoom participants?
See, the GNR channel, how long to be continued in treatment of precocious puberty?
That still develops. That is why we discussed. Suppose if you start, you have to give it continuously till we think that normal age has attained. Suppose at 12 years, suppose if you start in a girl or a boy of 3 or 4 years, you have to continue till 12 years usually. By 12 years, if you stop within 2 years, the reactivation, the deactivation will disappear. And suppose at 12 years, if you stop in a girl, gradually you can see that breast development, pubic hair is coming, and by 2 years you will get menarche also. Again, 12, up to 12 to 30, 12, 11 to 12 years you can continue.
One comment I want to make. I think this is the treatment is certainly prolonged. It has to be properly treated, and at the level of pediatrician, the treatment doesn't come. It has to be continued.
Yes.
How long that is, of course, this is, I think Vijayamar must be facing the problem of diabetes in children. You cannot say after 2 years you can, no, that is not the way. So the problem is it should be continued. This is one thing we have been facing earlier. All CAH which we are seeing in IMCH, delivered, followed up, even hydrocortisone and these are people who are likely to get problem like low growth retardation, and other related problems. So how do you face these problems, and how long you face this problem?
This
Tell, Vijay Kumar.
growth retardation. So
Before
the
that, can you just
you
stop
can
sharing the screen?
Okay, you can discuss about sir was telling about CAH. That is a lifelong problem. Just like sir was
Yes.
discussing diabetes, this is a lifelong problem. So during our pediatric age group, we have to look for the growth and development, whether child is growing properly, whether child is developing properly, because at any time we have to transfer all these children to the adult physicians, because there should be a transition from pediatrics to adult. But till that time, I think we have to monitor our growth and development,
Yes.
just vaccination and all these things, because finally, if a child goes to an adult, it shouldn't be a short child, or it shouldn't be having mental retardation and all these things. So till
right.
that age, we have to a good growth chart and developmental assessment. All these things are very important, and nutritional status. Because after that, we cannot suppose if the child crosses 18 or 19 years, they won't grow at all. So you may be giving to an adult a short child like that. So that shouldn't happen. As a pediatrician, I think we have to look for growth, development, all these things of these children, and gradually transfer this to an adult. Even if it is a diabetes, I think, sir, growth and development and our immunization status is very important in these children, because after that, I think they will even hypothyroidism. And another thing is CAH. What we are giving is hydrocortisone. Hydrocortisone won't produce much height loss actually. Suppose you are giving prednisolone and dexamethasone, there will be always they will land up in short stature. But after that bone age is fused, then we can even change to very cheap prednisolone or dexamethasone, because then we are not worried about growth, because growth is already attained. So till that age, I think we have to look for growth, development, nutrition, diet, all these things along with the primary conditions. I think that is what I think.
Yes,
Sir.
Thank you. Agreed with you.
Sir, കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ sir?
Anyway, that was a very, very nice presentation. Very nice presentation, and very good person and good suggestion. You intervened. I think this is the way we should proceed further. Every step, everything at the end, and then you lose interest. Every step this has been taken care of, and very good, very nice. Thank you, Shaji, for this nice initiation.
Welcome.
I think we will continue.
Do we have Ashraf here? Is Ashraf here? He said he will be going and he might come back.
Only with Ashraf.
Anyway, I'm quite happy that everybody is happy with the way this has taken place, and I must say that Mujib did a good presentation. He has really did his homework and gone to the whole thing. And special thanks to Vijay Kumar for taking his time to be with us for the benefit of the PGs all over Kerala. Probably this can gone, and then more people would be benefited. Not only PGs, even others. I think most of the questions were asked by non-PGs are not PGs. So, thank you very much. And then if Ashraf is there, I think we can conclude the program. Nihas, would you like to say the vote of thanks? Dr. Nihas? Well, if he's...
Shaji,
Narayan, are you here? For your concluding comments?
Yeah, it's a well-started program. Well begun is half done. It's going to be a hit program for IAP Kerala and for the benefit of PGs. And the congratulations and thanks for taking the initiative in conducting the program. And especially the presence of Shashidharan sir made it very lively. And so we will be expecting similar quality programs in coming weeks also. So once again, thanking each and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan.
Thank you all. Thank you, Vijay Kumar. A special thanks to you.
Thank you, sir, for giving me a chance.
Okay. And hopefully every week we can meet.
Yes, sir. Yes,
with
sir.
different topics, more interesting topics, maybe even case presentations of
Yes,
it.
that may be even better actually. Like
Yeah,
case
that'll be
presentation.
better.
It
Case
will be a mixture
presentation.
of case presentation and topics.
Yeah, that'll be good. So for the next coming week, we can plan along with Dr. Ashraf and others. Thank you. So this meeting is adjourned,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
or this class is adjourned.